Hi, my name is Sylvan Finger, and this class session I'll be talking about professional networking. So the hot topics are uh, putting together a resume, job searching, how to seek a raise, and building relationships. Um, shoot. Let's see if I can put a marker here. Um, the first thing I have on here, I'm just going to go through my notes, the class notes, as I found most of it pretty self-explanatory, and then I'll expand where things need to be expanded. So if you're looking for work, I find the best option to do is just do a Google search for the work that you're looking for, the type of work. It could be anything. Working in a warehouse, working for a government organization, whether someplace near you or someplace you want to move to. Google seems to somehow be able to, with its search engine power, put any type of job that is out there, whether it's in some job search company or not, it's able to just throw it all into one listing for you to look at and go through. So, um, so I find Google search is great because again, you used to have to go to these different websites or go through different organizations to find the kind of work that you're looking for, but just doing a simple Google search is a fantastic start to seeing what's available out there and start applying. But before you do that, I hope you ask um, yourself, what type of job do you hope to have? Is there a certain amount of income that you're looking for? And but if money wasn't an issue, what would you do? What would you enjoy doing in your spare time? I know one phrase is saying, uh, if you enjoy working, if if you enjoy what you did, then it may feel like you never have to work a day in your life. Which, there's some truth to that, but there's, I want to say there's no such thing as easy work that brings in a significant amount of income, unless you are particularly skilled in one area. But nonetheless, what would you do what do you do enjoying in your spare time? And is there a way you can turn that into an income? Uh, and then the next thing is, what do your friends enjoy doing? Why I mentioned that is because I hope whatever you do for work, you want to be with your friends. I know some organizations might. Some people might think, well, work, you just do your job 9 to 5 and then come home and everything's okay, which may or may not be true. It depends how many people you're working with, how often you're working with them, and if you uh, and how much of a team effort is it for what you're doing? I know if you're working at a grocery store clerk, working at a cash register, generally you're pretty independent by yourself. You're just at one spot, and as long as you're okay with talking to random strangers, then and sliding food across the cash register and memorizing numbers, then you're okay. But if none of that sounds exciting to you, well, then you're probably going to want to do something else. Um, so uh, I'll get more on that. As I said, this is pretty self-explanatory. Um, so depending on what kind of job you want will depend on how you seek out the job. So if you're looking for contracting work, uh, a Google search might be a good place to start, especially if some organization's looking. But perhaps, again, who are your friends? Do you know anyone that's already doing some contract work? A lot of times, contract work is very much a word of mouth. of who do you know and who'd be interested in working with you. But you could also look up and do a Google search for just listings nearby of the saying local general contractors and see what pops up. If you're looking for more to contract out your skills, say such as maybe you're a professional speaker, then that's where LinkedIn seems to be the type of organization to work with. LinkedIn is a basically an online resume where it states all your skills and your qualities, and uh, you're not just limited to a page that a typical paper resume will have. But with that, by by having a LinkedIn, you can connect with friends and again with the people you know and see what they're interested in and how you can get connected with them and perhaps who knows, maybe uh, someone will be on LinkedIn and just see what kind of they're looking for a particular public speaker has a specialty in whatever field you're in. I don't know, maybe comedy or business representative, whatever it is. LinkedIn seems to be good for that kind of white collar work. If you're just looking for an inch just to get a basic job, um, entry level job, perhaps minimum wage. Again, a Google search will I've learned has been fantastic for that. So I guess again, what kind of entry level work would you be looking for? But I'm sure you could just type in entry level work in my area, and Google will pop that out too and give you some ideas. So with any work, if you're not sure, just apply and go ahead and do it. Just do it. If you throw out your name up there, let the people who are hiring decide what they want to do. We'll talk a little bit more about how to put your best foot forward, but what I find mostly is if you're the kind of person they're looking for, they'll just hire you. It's not really something you gotta discover about how to throw it out there. If your skill is what they're looking for, it shouldn't be hard to for them to find you when you apply. So what I find is through stories, you can kind of understand how people find work and how connections are made. I know in this 21st century, in this era, there's a whole bunch of different ways people are making money. And I know a lot of people, I was just reading today how a YouTube influencer, apparently they have millions of dollars to throw away just because they have a following and a whole bunch of people are watching their YouTube videos, which is quite fascinating at the age of 20. But nonetheless, not everyone's going to be a YouTube influencer. Again, if you got the skill, go ahead and just do it. But I think as we continue to go through here, hopefully you find something a little bit more skilled. Something that you wouldn't mind doing only at 20, but also at 40 and 60. So if you want to learn more about that reason, go back to the previous class of the finances, and I had a guest speaker talk about the power of planning for the long term for spending money and saving money as well. It all goes together. So how I found work, I found work by going to my school actually had a class in helping juniors and seniors find work, and That was very helpful for me because I was able to get one-on-one coaching of what I need to be looking for, how do I ask, and what to do. I know when I was first looking for work, I would just wait for the signs to appear of what kind of jobs were available. So unless there was a hiring sign outside, I wouldn't have applied. But I've learned that there are some jobs, especially entry level work, where people, even whether they have a sign outside or not, they'll go ahead and take resumes and look at and take in applications. And then you can also pick up an application from there. Again, I notice today's mostly all done online. It really depends. I notice small mom and pop businesses are more likely to do the paper resume stuff, and big organizations are more likely to do the online stuff. I haven't really had good success with online things, but that perhaps is because, again, a skill set is not really what they're looking for, or what they're looking for is not really what I think is a good idea. But anyways, it's just how the world works. You can't argue with the business. You just gotta let them do what they do. So how they end up. So once I learned that, they said just apply to anywhere you could see yourself working. And so I found myself first job at working at Baskin Robbins, 31 flavors ice cream. Then after working there for a year, I found work at a place that was a little closer to home, and it was a candy shop. And I know my friend really wanted me to work there, so I ended up working there after that as I was going through working my way through college. And again, I just needed part-time work as I was going to school. I didn't need something full-time. I really didn't know what I wanted to do yet. I had some ideas, which is why I was going to school. But I guess I'll continue with that. And I was trying to figure it out. I kept changing my major in the school. Thankfully, it was community college, and so the classes were super cheap, and all the different classes I had helped me to figure out, see just what is available out there. But I ended up having to take a break from school and seeing what I wanted to do. And I found myself actually spending a whole bunch of time at my home congregation, my church. And so after a few months of that, the pastor there was saying, I told you once, and I told you before, you should go into ministry. I know it's a lot more education, but you're already doing the work. You just need to go get your education. So go do it. And so I gave in and started the application work to get my education to be on my way to become a pastor. And I got through it, and here I am today being a pastor. Again, it wouldn't have been my first choice because of the type of work. I thought for sure it was going to be either something in the math or sciences that I was going to get a job in. But as my pastor said, it's more about the heart of the pastor that people are often looking for, and not so much how good they are at reading and writing. So, however, I found once the reading and writing material was all about ministry and church things, I just loved it and ate it up, and learned a whole lot. Truth be told, probably learned. I learned the things I even learned I missed in high school about reading and writing. It took a long time to get there, but not too much longer. It's just from changing my majors and then figuring out what classes I still needed to take and everything. And it took a good amount of time, but nonetheless, I finished and I got there. And so that's how I got my job today. For me, my schools, for my church denomination, they send out church workers to wherever churches need a church worker, wherever they need a pastor. And now I'm here in Willows and also Corning. So that's how that worked out. That's one of the blessings of completing the program, is you're pretty much guaranteed a job. The only reason why you wouldn't be guaranteed a job is if you can't do the job and they've seen you work in church and think you're not really helping anybody. So apparently I'm helping somebody if I'm still here after all these years. So I'll keep going, and again, I'm don't plan to change anytime soon. So that's how it worked for me. For my wife, how she found work was she went to school to become a teacher. She seemed to enjoy teaching, but she also too enjoyed helping out in ministry. And so she was often working with college ministry things as she was going through college. But once she finished, for her, it was a friend that hinted at, maybe you should try another program called Young Life and go work there. So again, that's another Christian ministry type thing that deals with working with youth. College ministry is just a next step down. It's high school youth mostly, if there's also middle schoolers, but it's similar. You got a young group of people that the ministry is focused on working with, and she enjoyed working with that for 7 years, and then from there she ended up trying a couple new things. So she never became a full-time teacher, is what her degree was for. But however, I'm sure she learned those skills to apply those to other to the career that she was having. And so today she is a preschool teacher. As when she married me, things had to change, and she had to look for more part-time work as she knew we were planning on having a family and little ones running around. So we needed some type of job where she could bring in some income, but yet spend most of her time with the little ones. As for my parents, I love sharing how they found their work because even though it's at a different time, it still has a good sense of how much working with the people makes a whole world of difference. And so both of my parents, is one of their first jobs was working at an Italian restaurant. And through that, they met each other and they enjoyed each other so much that they got married. And so that's how that worked out. And then once they got married, she stopped working so that she could take care of the kids. And then the owner of the restaurant told my dad maybe he should find another place to go work, because no matter how good you are at working in a restaurant, unless you own it, you're not going to be bringing a whole bunch of income. So my parents, so the owner of the restaurant actually helped my dad in finding a couple other jobs that would bring him more income, and he was able to try them all before he actually picked one, and then he ended up picking one, which ended up being painting residential homes. And then after a while for working for someone, he pretty much realized he could pretty much do the work on his own, and then it'd be worth going out and making an effort to go and do just that. So now, after all these years, he's still painting houses and bringing an income of doing a job he enjoyed. Being a painting contractor wasn't his first job, but basically being a police officer didn't work out either. So there's a variety of reasons for that, but nonetheless, again, he's found what works for him, and so that's my 2 cents there. Suggestions is the next chunk of this class. So one question people might wonder today is, I mentioned quite a bit about people going to college. My wife went to college. I went to college. My parents, not so much. My mom was working as a preschool teacher at one point. That was in the middle after my sister and I were done needing to be watched some out. By the time we were in school, or maybe it was even after that, because she was working at a steakhouse for 14 years before she became a preschool teacher, and she got her a few classes she needed to do preschool work in between raising the kids and going to work. So it doesn't take that many classes, but she'd have to figure out how to get it all in there. And but but now she works with my dad, and that just seems to work with them. As when you work with family, not only do you get the benefit of only having not only do you get the benefit of commuting in the same car. My parents actually get along very well when they spend a lot of time together. So again, they were working together at a restaurant and they got married. So here they are working at painting together and still going. So a neat story. I know not every family has that story. So why did I bring that up? Taking classes. I know for me growing up, it's nose itches for some reason. So it's really dry and hot today. Everyone's tired of it. So I hope my nose gets hydrated soon. I should have some water. So should you get a degree? It depends what you want to do. I mentioned how I went to college to look for the type of job I wanted to do. But you notice that how I actually found the job I wanted to do is where I ended up spending all my spare time. It wasn't actually going through school. I tried going through school and just picked a degree that seemed promising. I know when I was first going to college, people were saying civil engineering was an excellent choice. Again, that deals with math. Apparently, that was a field that people couldn't get enough experts in, especially at the time in 2006. But by the time I finished the trade portion, to basically be a helper for someone in civil engineering, there really wasn't any work for not only for the helpers, but also for the people with that bachelor's degree of civil engineering, the actual field workers. There wasn't that much because in 2008 that the market wasn't that great. People stopped building houses because people stopped developing. People stopped asking surveyors to go out into the fields and start making property boundaries for new subdevelopments and things like that. So kind of felt like those 2 years were a waste of time, but at the same time, I did learn things. I was able to meet new people and learn how to work with people and things like that, learn what civil engineering is. But even when I got with other civil engineers, I found, I did my best to just try to get to know them more, but it's interesting how the life of a civil engineer, to me, a civil engineer might think of this differently, but to me, someone who would make a great civil engineer is not only someone who likes the maths and sciences, but also someone who is like a pirate that enjoys going out and finding treasure, because you gotta go out and find the points on the land that are known and are pretty much recorded by the government, and they know just the elevation of that point and at where in the world, what number that point on the latitude and longitude axis of what all those things are, and how do those points relate to all the other property boundaries and legal documents that state who owns what. So, of course, civil engineering does so many more things, but I notice that's kind of the big one. It's basically one big treasure hunt, and again, if you enjoy the pirate life, going out to random places and finding random surprises. Fortunately, I don't mind it, but this wasn't my drive. My drive was having the heart in helping people. So, so my suggestion is, before you go to college, make sure you know just what you want to do and get to a point where the thing that's holding you back is the degree. Because especially now, many times, if you don't know what you want, and you end up going through it, especially a 4-year degree, and you don't have the money to pay for it, well, then now you got a loan to pay off. And if you don't get the job you're looking for, you can do something else completely different. So now you have to pay off a loan for something you didn't need in the first place. and there might have been a better track of education, or maybe you didn't even need the education in the first place. I'm noticing the trades a whole lot. There's need a whole lot of help in. So like the electricians, or again, I mentioned contractors, uh, mechanics, things like that. It, it's there's a big need for trade type work. And so, and there are some trades out there that they'll actually train you to do the job as you're getting paid. So you don't have to go to college somewhere and pay for yourself. You can just the job will actually train you themselves, which is quite nice. And I mentioned back to that finances class, the previous session. If you can start even at 18, are building in an income where you can support yourself, well, then that's fantastic. But if you take 12 years, get a PhD and something you don't even know if you're going to get a job in at the end, well, now you got 12 years of yourself not working, or not even put into anything in the savings. But again, you got perhaps student loan debt and things like that that you have to deal with. And so in many ways, yes, going to school is good. And hopefully whatever you come out with, your paycheck reflects that education. But I just hope that whatever you choose, that you know there's going to be work for you in the end of it. So if you come out with, again, come out with school without no loans, that'd be even better. So now, how long has this been where the trades are probably the preferred route to go? I thought it was more closer to my time, and around the 2010 where that was really the ideal way to go. But someone else I was reading was telling me when she went to school, she experienced the same thing in the year 2000. She went to school like she thought she was supposed to do, and she got out and she was like, there's no work for what I went to school for. So some people are suggesting that was the 1970s method. So I find it fascinating that even all these years later, there's some people that are suggesting just go to college. That's what you're supposed to do. And well, I'm just saying college isn't always the answer. Having a desk job maybe nice, but not everyone can do desk work. My dad knew I was not even though I can do painting, I can do a paintbrush, you could tell that's just not where my heart was. It was more in the paperwork, different kind of work. Because yes, there's a lot of paperwork in being a pastor, but there's also a lot of working with hearts as well. And hopefully the paperwork feeds into the hearts of whoever's reading or listening to the content I'm creating. So such as this recording here. So what's next? So on the suggestions, I know another suggestion that was given to me was that maybe instead of getting a 4-year degree, just go there for 2 years to get general education. For California, that's called a intersegmental general education transfer curriculum, or IGETC. And this is basically for general education requirements at any UC campus. So the idea is you go to a community college where education is pretty affordable, next to nothing. You may be able to pay it off by the time you finish all your schooling. And then once you get that 2-year certificate, then maybe you can actually go out in the world and see what kind of work you want to do. Because with that education, you're taught to think like a college graduate. You learn to read a certain type of material. You learn to ask critical thinking questions rather than just doing things because you're told to do so, or do things that sound good. If you learn how to be able to think a little bit more independently with that. So again, take it for whatever. For me, it took having to find the type of work I'd be interested in to enjoy that general education. Just going there and learning some random English for the sake of passing English things was not my favorite thing to do. But some people love English, and so they went through it. I did do quite a few math classes, but I even got exhausted through that along the way because it just wasn't practical and very. I just didn't find it fruitful in the end. But it's quite fascinating what you can do with math. I learned things that I never thought I'd learn. So so that is an option. But I always like to mention Reddit. Just I love it when you get a bunch of people together and see what the top results of what people can get along with and agree on are helpful points. And so here are some helpful points that I came across and I even agreed with as well. And so from Reddit, to do well in the career world, be polite and friendly and helpful to your coworkers. This goes a long way in networking. People remember, hey, I really liked working with that guy and want to do it again. So in this way of thinking, if someone enjoys working with you, maybe you don't have to go out and find work. They'll invite you to work with them, which would be fantastic. And again, if you already enjoyed working with each other, perhaps, especially if you're just starting out, have no responsibilities, have no family, don't own any property yet, or you can be away from it and it's going to be just fine. That's just a great opportunity. So from the very beginning, try to make sure you're working with people you enjoy. If you're not enjoying who you're working with, then go ahead and make an effort to find to work somewhere else. Again, hopefully that somewhere else will help your income, or if you're taking a loss in income, maybe there's a possibility of coming out even stronger in the end. But for understand, there's a lot of work out there. It's just people struggle in finding that work on what they can do. But again, just try something new. If it doesn't work out, quit and go somewhere else. Next line here is make work friends if you can. I know this goes against some common beliefs of I'm here to just do a job, but let's be real. Your buddies will always want to work with you in the future. So again, that's a similar thing. Don't just go there for the work, also go there for the community as well. Take that helpfulness outside of the job. I met people at conventions that I connected with on LinkedIn, and I've helped them with resumes and career advice. This means a lot to people. So this guy mentions going to conventions. So say you like a certain kind of computer programming. Maybe you could go to that convention and mingle with other people who are also wanting to learn more in that computer programming and perhaps want to work with. And so basically you're thinking you get together with like-minded people, and you can see all the different kinds of organizations that are out there. You can hand out your resume to them. You can try to network with them and see what kind of work you can come alongside with. And who knows what will come out with that. Again, here they're saying just by making connections, people realize you exist and you're looking for work. And if they do need help, they'll consider you as a candidate for hiring. Another thing here is find a community group, a sport or hobby that you can attend regularly. So this idea of, why would you go to, say, a chess club or a horseshoe throwing community club if that's not work? But again, hopefully you like the people that are there, or at least you learn of perhaps a different type of group of people that you might enjoy, that you enjoy being around, and maybe they could help you find the type of work you're looking for. Maybe they have a friend who they enjoy being around with, and also enjoys the type of work that you enjoy. Another thing here is, remember, it's a two-way street. You can't just take, you also have to offer things. So hopefully whenever you're going for a job, that you just don't go up to them and say, what can you do for me? Hopefully you can come in with some sort of team attitude, and how can you help me get up here? How can you help me get to where I want to go? I've always been interested in being a programmer. Can you share me more with that about how did you start out? Is there some work you need help with? And can I share some ideas of how I think your business could do better? If you have some give and take, and you're both helping each other out, that goes a long way as well. And so that kind of goes with how to seek a raise. That's one of the things mentioned on here. I learned one suggestion of how to seek a raise is you actually talk to the person. You just don't text them or send them an email. You talk to them in person, perhaps towards the end of their shift, especially before their weekend break, and you ask, hey, I'm interested in seeking a raise here. Is there something I could do to get that raise, or are there some things I still need to develop? For every organization is different. For some it might be time. For some it might be skill. Some it might be a little bit of both. But if you find a time where they can be relaxed and they're not stressed out, some time that's casual for them, and just say, hey, you know what, it'd be nice to have a little bit more income, and I think my work is going well here. Is there a way I can be I guess you could say, rewarded for that? And hopefully they give you a raise because they do think that you're a benefit to the company. So every organization is different, but it doesn't hurt to ask. If you don't ask, you don't get. And sometimes the owner may not even be thinking of it. They're just like, things are okay. I'm paying bills. Everyone keeps showing up to work. Everything's fine. They don't think, well, it's been a certain amount of time. Maybe I should give this person a raise. Especially if they are an owner, and they probably have plenty of other things, a bunch of responsibilities that are floating in the air. A tip from my wife is, when you do go through an interview, write a thank you note after the interview to say that you appreciate them and taking the time to interview them and consider them for the company. So the idea behind this, again, it's just not all take. It's you showing their appreciation, saying that you took the time out of your busy day to consider me, to making me a part of your company, and I just appreciate that. And can also remind them that you're looking forward to hearing from them as well. But tokens of gratitude go a long way. Am I ready for the main takeaway? I think for an interview, I mentioned the interview here. Another tip is when you're working with others, when you are going into the business, whether an interview or first impression, you want to try to dress up a little bit better than whatever, maybe the same or a little bit better than whatever you're going into. The idea is that you show that you can look professional, and you can look like you can look like the person that they want to hire. So if you do look like you just walked off the street, that you're homeless, from that first impression, that you're not giving yourself a competitive look. You're not giving yourself a competitive edge, and they're left guessing to figure out what you can and cannot do. So if you show you can dress better than what is expected there, well, then you should be just fine of whatever of whatever that organization's looking for. I know a lot of companies are casual, especially here on the West Coast. But again, whatever the company's looking for, just make sure you're a step up from them. So the main takeaway from this is there are going to be people you get along with, and there are people you aren't going to get along with. And so I hope with whatever career you do find, I hope you find a community that you will get along with. Again, you can have all the skills and the fancy letters next to your name, but if no one likes you, no one's going to want to work with you, and your career won't be as hopeful as you want. So next thing on here I have is resume. I don't plan to talk too much about this, as by the time I finish here, it should be pretty much an hour. But I've attached to the end of the class notes an example outline. You notice everything is pretty much in the same type of font. It's in pretty much the same size. Has all the information there. Someone can see it. Take 30 seconds to look at it and see what you do and what you enjoy, what you've been successful at. And hopefully whatever you have listed here, you list your top qualities that would be for whatever business you're applying for. So if you're just starting out and looking for different types of work, you're probably going to have different types of resumes, as your work experience and your skill sets are going to look a little different, or your top skill sets for the type of work you're looking for are going to look different than, say, the difference between working on houses to building software. You could use a contractor wants to know if you can use a hammer, while a software company wants to know if you can write programming. So you're going to have different skill sets. And I could see a Christian person say, I've helped people build houses with Habitat for Humanity, and so there's my example of working with contracting. Well, your software company is going to want to know, what programs have you made? Maybe are there some websites that you've made that show your work and what you can do? So things like that. But that's basically it. You put your best set of skills forward for whatever organization you're going to apply for. So resume. Anything else on a resume? I got a link here to where I got that resume template from. And I got that from the YouTube video of how to make and fill out a resume. So in 6 minutes, he explains all that. I probably explained half of it already. But each resume gives you a couple examples to work with. There are some paid things there, but there's a good number of free things to help you get set up. So final thoughts here. LinkedIn is great for contract work, probably more white-collar work and trying to interact with others and offer services of some kind or other. But for basic employment work, something for a career or to work for a particular organization, just Google for whatever type of work you're looking for and see what comes up, and that'll be a great start. Now, from there, you should be able to kind of figure out what other organizations you could probably tap into. But hopefully, before then, you're even talking to people over the phone and applying for businesses, and you already sound like you know what you're doing if you're already done with Google. Another item on here is spend time with business owners. I know I mentioned how I got my work is I spent all my time doing church work, and I got to know the leaders of the organization, and they appreciated all my help with the church organization. I imagine for pretty much any business, if you went up to them and said, "Hey, I really like what you do," or "I'm interested in what you're doing. Is there a time I can hang out with you or learn with you more about what you do and how you got there, and how that might work for me?" I'm sure they'll be valued at that. A lot of people do like sharing their story and enjoy receiving attention and being appreciated by others. And so you can let them know. You could say, I don't need any money. I just want to know more about the organization and and how this all works. And perhaps that very organization might be willing to hire you if that's even what you're going for. But even if it's not what they're going for, they could probably give you some pointers of where to start getting into if you are interested in that type of work. Uh, that it's I know growing up, being told what do you want to do with your life, a lot of times people do. I pick some specific ones that seem to be pretty obvious. Software companies need to put together software to make things work, or houses need to be built. So someone's got to do that. But there are other organizations out there, especially finances. You don't really think of accountant as a job to do or a possible type of work to do, but there are plenty of financial organization type people. There's marketing type organizations. There's all types of levels of work out there. There's electricians who work just for industrial companies. There's people who build ships out there. There's just all kinds of things. And so hopefully whatever work you're someone interested in, again, you can get connected with the people who are already in that field first, talk to them about what they do and get there. As for a local resource and how you can get connected with different kinds of people, the best I could find is it's called the Glenn County Community Action Department. Again, the link is included in the notes. And they pretty much have a dump for any type of job opportunities that they know about that you can get started with connecting with people. Probably might be helpful for you is if you're not really sure where to go after looking at that page. I noticed there is a phone number for anyone to call for who is looking for work. So hopefully through that phone number, you can call them, just tell them your story of what you're looking for, and they could probably, again, just get started and get you connected to the right community. That's all I have for this class. I hope with whatever is here, this all helps you. Again, whether it's job working or building relationships, maybe you are interested in maybe one day becoming a private business person, someone who's independent, don't have to work for anybody, do your own work, make your own rules. Those things sound great. Comes with a whole lot of responsibility, but if responsibility is what you enjoy having, then go for it. I've learned there's a lot of people do not like responsibility, despite the benefits and the independence it brings. So if whatever you imagine yourself doing, just go big. Don't worry about how much it costs to get there. Don't worry about how complicated the work is. If you're interested in doing the work, you'll make it there. You'll probably get there. And I'm sure there's plenty of stories by others who have the same testimony. But anyways, I did put together some scripture before I go. I found in passage Psalm 121, verse 8. The Lord will watch over your coming and going, both now and forevermore. That's another aspect of, I know looking for work can be a frightening thing, going to places and meeting people you've never experienced and seen before. But if you want to work, people will take you. And hopefully the Lord will protect you and guide you wherever He would be good for you to go. So I pray that you can go on your way and have a dream, have a career that you come out to be proud of in the end of it all. Have a good day.